Hi everyone, my name is Taylor Markey, and the topic I'll be discussing today is leadership as it relates to critical thinking. To start, I would like everyone to think of a couple different managers you've either had in the past or currently work for. Now think about if you would consider them a true leader or a manager, and why. We will get back to this topic at the end of the presentation. I once read a book by renowned author Ken Blanchard titled Leadership in the 1-Minute Manager: Increasing Effectiveness Through Situational Leadership, which I suggest everyone should read if you can find the time. Now, as the title indicates, this novel focuses around how to become a better, well-rounded leader. At first, I thought leaders whom are critical thinkers are easy to come by, until I took a minute to think about it. There are several traits that a critical thinker should possess, but first we need to be able to define critical thinking. In layman's terms, critical thinking is defined as a calculated evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Getting back to the novel I mentioned earlier, some of you may have noticed the book is focused more on a situational leader rather than a critical thinker. Although this is the case, I have been able to find a few topics that overlap. First and foremost, a good leader must be able to adapt to a multitude of different situations within the workplace. Having a strong critical thinking background will allow the leader to fully analyze the situation before jumping to any conclusions. This sometimes may be difficult as we have underlying biases that we do not always think about or maybe don't even realize. With the use of divergent thinking, you can outsmart your own biases to make the most logical decision possible. A good leader must also be able to help his or her employees mature and grow throughout their career. Critical thinking is key here, as it is crucial for the leader to determine his or her team member's developmental stage depending on the experience of the employee. Once this has been determined, the leader can then apply the necessary resources in which will help this employee thrive. Switching gears, I would like to talk about one of my favorite critical thinking topics, groupthink. Groupthink is a phenomenon in which a group or team strives for a consensus within the group. This can sometimes hinder creativity or individual responsibility. Some of you may be thinking having a group all agree isn't always a bad thing, and I would argue you're right, but it depends on why everyone agrees. Is it because each team member individually took a step back and thought through the different outcomes and the best possibilities? Or is it because some team members were afraid to be wrong or challenge authority? This is where having a strong leader is key. Your team should be able to be collaborative, throw out different ideas, encourage one another, and even the occasional disagreement. The leader should also be willing and open to different opinions other than their own, and not come off as hostile if a team member does not agree with them. I would now like to point everyone's attention to the two powerful quotes on the slide in front of you. Andy Stanley is a pastor from Atlanta, Georgia, who said, "The insecure leader will interpret critical thinking as criticism. This is a large component that can ultimately lead to groupthink, as many team members will be afraid to be creative and disagree with their manager. Collaboration produces better decisions. Employees who effectively work together on issues have a better chance of solving the problem without having to address the situation again." Although it is most certainly not the first topic that comes to mind when talking about critical thinking, emotional intelligence plays a large role in the critical thinking process. One who has emotional intelligence is one who is said to handle interpersonal conflicts appropriately while still showing empathy. A leader who has a high level of emotional intelligence will benefit the team on a larger scale. They are also aware of and in full control of their emotions throughout different scenarios. The elements of emotional intelligence are self-perception, interpersonal relationships, and decision-making. These elements allow the leader to gather information from trusted relationships while remaining aware of their potential biases. It is also important for a leader to constantly improve their strategic thinking as well. This can be accomplished in several ways. First, they must be proactive. Being proactive means they are always looking towards the future before being asked. Understanding counter-arguments is also crucial, as they will be able to understand the whole picture by seeing the opposing side of the discussion. Also, he or she should always be looking to optimize what they do on a day-to-day basis. Keeping up to date with news and trends will help the leader understand their role on a larger, more global scale. I would like to direct your attention again to the PowerPoint slide. One last topic I would like to touch upon is dealing with conflict within the workplace. Conflict is normal, if not a natural occurrence in day-to-day workplace activity. Although it is very common, it is important for a leader to know how to handle this conflict in a productive manner before it spirals out of control. There have been several instances where I have seen conflict get out of control, and there have been many instances where it was handled quickly and appropriately. It is also crucial for the conflict to not be avoided, as it will not go away and may turn into a larger ordeal. As you can see the image on the screen, the leader also may feel like they are stuck in the middle of a feud. However, the leader should not take sides and try to help find a common ground for each employee. I would now like everyone to think back to the question I had asked at the beginning of this presentation. For those who don't remember, it was to think of a manager who you may currently have or have worked for in the past and decide if they're a critical thinker or just a manager. Now that you've heard my take on leadership as it applies to critical thinking, I want you to take what you learned and determine if they do indeed show the traits of a true leader. Going forward, I challenge everyone to keep these traits in mind if you are in a potential leadership role. I leave you all with this quote from the great Albert Einstein: "The important thing is to not stop questioning." Thank you.